Hi, Roy here on my booktube channel, which is basically me reading old books that are strange, interesting, or just weird for some reason. And I call it Roy Reads Anything. Anything. And this one's going to be about the Monkees in print. So I mentioned last time that I had this Monkees tie-in paperback, which led to a vast outpouring of affection. Not for me, I take that as read, but for the Monkees. So I thought I'd do a bit of a dive into Monkees in print. So I've got some other Monkees print items as well to talk about. But aware that not everybody knows every single thing that everybody else knows, the Monkees were a pop group created initially for a television series that was kind of in the wake of Beatlemania, and specifically Beatles' Hard Day's Night movie that was kind of a comedy movie. So sort of doing the same sort of thing on television, but unexpectedly they turned out to be musically very brilliant, really. And I mean that not just as a general, yeah, brilliant. The, Lots of people think this. The music is just great, and if you've never heard them or heard of them, just have a quick look at something like the Monkees Theme. The video and the music will give you pretty much an idea of what they're about. Um, like I say, great music. If you listen to a song like Valleri, there's a lot going on in it. I think they're simple bubblegum pop songs, but there always seems to be more happening. So in Valleri, you get this amazing kind of fuzz guitar that makes them kind of sound a bit like a sort of garage band. But there's a little bit of a brass instrument giving it a sort of poppy propulsiveness, and then this unexpected sort of show-offy bit of Spanish sounding guitar. Although I have got a theory that all songs called Valleri are always quite good, or even very good. Uh, Bit of a digression there. I've made a playlist to prove my assertion that every song called Valleri is at least quite good. So I'll link to that. You can listen to that if you want as well. Um, right, okay, but this isn't Music Tube. The jury will disregard the witness's last statement. It's BookTube. So talking about books, Monkees in print. Um, as Michael K. Vaughan pointed out, this was a time when everything popular had to be turned into a paperback, and the Monkees shows were no exception. There's several of these, quite short. Popular Library published this one. I suppose it's as much about distribution as anything. There would be space in racks, there'd be printers who could do this kind of thing. So this format, you get paperbacks like this about Batman or Mad Magazine or whatever. So what do you get? Well, one thing that interested me was the title, Monkees Go Mod. So what is this mod of which they speak? Because here in Britain, mod means something quite specific in terms of music and style. So the mods were into bands like The Who. They wore sharp suits, topped off with parkas to protect your sharp suit while you were riding your scooter. There'd be the great expeditions to seaside towns on bank holidays when there'd be battles between mods and rockers. And Quadrophenia, the movie Quadrophenia, kind of encapsulates all of that and sort of relaunched it as well as an early 80s kind of revival thing. So that's what mods are, I think, but that's not what the Monkees are. And the idea of the Monkees fighting greasers on Brighton seafront is actually incredibly appealing, but it never happened. So I think this mod is something different. It's more Carnaby Street type fashions, brightly coloured, a kind of innocuous end of the hippie sort of phenomenon is my take on it. Um, Wonder Woman, about the same time, there was a period when Wonder Woman, I think she rescinds her superpowers and becomes a regular human being. And this was trailed as Wonder Woman Goes Mod, and you get beautiful pages of her buying mod fashions. Again, very far away from the British concept of mods. There's probably a bit of an overlap. And just for clarity, Wonder Woman doesn't fight the greasers either. Though that would be an even better story. I want to see Diana Prince tossing rockers around and maybe brandishing a deck chair at somebody. To the paperback. Wait. So one thing is inside it's all black and white, which is actually how a lot of us saw the show, because we had black and white tellies. Um, you get a lot of. I was so hoping it would just be a straightforward novelization of some episodes, but it's mainly photo-based kind of montages. But good. In terms of book design, it's lovely, and a lot of these pictures make them look pretty cool as well. So you're led into it with a sort of following the boys on tour kind of photo essay, which is nice. Then there's some. Oh yeah, there's the Monkey Mobile. Um, there's cartoons. The cartoons aren't great, to be honest, but there's cartoony stuff. Um, some interviews, but they're fake interviews that go off into strange sort of fantastic ideas of things that aren't really happening. Um, and lots of some you get these rather soulful pin-uppy pictures. I always interpreted it as a kids show and never thought of them as being like teenage, you know, attractive human beings, but that was part of the mix as well. So yeah, there's Mike Nesmith, the cool one. Right, you get again coming back to the design. You get some nice graphics, lots of these sort of cut out shapes. An article about them and their footwear. Shoo shoo baby, when you climb the ladder of success. Um, Actually, those shoes seem to be variations on the theme of the Chelsea boot. Sort of interesting how fashions would kind of bounce back and forth across the Atlantic. So stuff that maybe originated in London would then be picked up in America, and then that makes it even more cooler. So it's recopied back in England. I would happily wear these kind of Chelsea boots, based on these pages that I'm reading now. More cartoons. Weird section where it's old Victorian etchings and drawings with their heads stuck on to make a strange sort of story. Now, yeah, so these actually do look surreal. The monkeys get called surreal, but they're actually using like art techniques of the actual surrealists in this book. There's also a lot of I guess you could call the whole thing a form of pop art, but you also get some of the sort of op for optical art stuff as well going on. And there is a text story, so my dream of a Monkees novelisation. I'd rather it was written by somebody like, I don't know, William Burroughs, for instance, but that maybe it is. It's hard to tell from the credits. The text story is called The Marrakesh Caper, and it's a kind of a spoof Man from Uncle type story, with lots of bizarre happenings, and they end up going off into space. So it's a bit like something a kid would write. There's also mention of some exploding Moroccan cigarettes and this Moroccan tobacco being a kind of MacGuffin in the story. So I think there might be just a little nod there towards the more sort of herbally inclined Summer of Love adult readers, but the Monkees aren't really at this stage of their career anyway. They're very much the sort of sanitized, friendly, lovely. Yeah, that's what I meant by the op art stuff, by the way. The sort of stuff gives you a little bit of a incipient migraine. Back into the surreal collages, and then before you know it, like youth itself, it is ended. So, Monkees Go Mod. I thought, let's see some other stuff from the time. I bought an old issue of the New Musical Express, aka the NME. That's a British music paper. This one's from July 1967, and the Monkees are on like virtually every page. Now, this was quite a serious paper at the time. It was as much the sort of trade paper for the music industry as it was a sort of pop paper for the fans to buy. Um, Lovely. This image actually is an advert for a band called The Creation, a similar area. Not terrifically well known. I think they're great. If you watchers of the Great Pottery Throwdown, and I know some of my pals on here are, you actually hear The Creation every week because they do the theme tune. Anyway, Monkees, 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 mentioned on the cover. Monkees and Beatles, interestingly mentioned, same size typeface, same size everything, and you get interviews with them, huge interviews. You get a attending a recording session kind of story. They're in the chart, both in the album chart and the singles chart. So what's interesting about this is they're being taken totally seriously as a band. They were just about to play at Wembley. That was obviously a huge thing. And there is some stuff about, hey, we went to the recording session and they were really playing the instruments. Is yet another story about them not quite having the same chart position as Engelbert Humperdinck. Something about their publicity tour. See, clickbait title, Monkees may split up all around Britain because they're going to do separate photo shoots in different towns. And on it goes. There's, like I say, there's an advertisement from Vox, who make amplifiers and organs, proudly saying that it's Vox equipment that the Monkees are going to be using at their concert. So yet another thing, Mike Nesmith. Yes, so there's so much else interesting in this paper, but like I say, interesting to me that while us were watching it on the television as little kids, and it's also like a proper pop thing that people were going to. Finally, if in America everything had to be turned into a paperback, here in Britain everything had to be turned into an annual, a quite large, look at the size difference, a hardback book that will come out round about Christmas. Quite substantial. They've shrunk over the years, but yes, this is published by Century 21, who did lots of cool annuals, including I think the Jerry Anderson ones, and interesting cover with a photo poster of Mickey Dolenz being put onto a wall by cartoon monkeys. And similarly to the paperback, you get lots of playful typographical stuff, like you get this incredibly small print contents list, and again with the cartoon, these seem to have been drawn by, I've seen this style of art so much in other things like other sort of television related things like annuals. They've also gone down the route of getting some old Victorian prints and drawings and making a weird story out of them. And you get the sort of pin-ups and yet more cartoons. Very, very bright and zesty. You know, this would be something in your Christmas stocking. Some great great typefaces of the time. Quizzes. That's you get them. You get quizzes and puzzles quite a lot in annuals, which does make them perilous to collect because usually somebody's like, you know, filled in a crossword or drawn the dot to dot drawing or whatever. It's quite a fun piece, and again, as a piece of book design of the time, it's got some nice aspects. This is probably my favourite spread just because of this wacky green colour and the typefaces, the way they've done these cutout shapes. It smells very cardboardy, obviously been kept in somebody's shed, waiting to be resurrected. So yes, Monkees in print. I think if you've never heard the music, never seen them on television, you'd probably think they were some weird sort of art experiment. Um, the word that comes out of all of this, the way people have thought, how do we turn this into things that people might buy, is collage. That seems to be the main approach. They also obviously spent an awful lot of time being photographed in ridiculous costumes, doing ridiculous things, which is a living. So, Monkees memorabilia. I have looked at it and talked about it to you, so hopefully that was mildly enjoyable. Okay, thanks everybody. Goodbye.